Welcome to today's interview and segment. Let me ask you this. Have you ever wondered why some people struggle with chronic health issues, chronic disease, hormone imbalances, or maybe having immune challenges, or maybe medical issues that are like somewhat inexplainable? Well, if so, then you are going to love today's segment and what we're talking about. In fact, our guest expert today is a good friend and a client of ours and someone I just admire and adore. She's the best-selling author of this book, 8 Out-of-the-Box Ways to Transform Your Health. She's a mom, she's a teacher, she's a speaker, she is a thought leader and dedicated functional medicine physician that had battled her own journey with medical issues. And when she couldn't find the answers through traditional medicine, guess what she did? Lean in, come here, come on. She found a new way. And we're going to talk about that new way today. Because what if there was actually a way outside of maybe what most would call the traditional medical system of what I'll refer to as sick care, that you could truly experience something called healthcare? What would that be worth to you? And what if a lot of the traditional practices around health and fitness and disease was just not as true as maybe you've been led to believe? Well, if any of that's of interest to you, you are going to love today's segment. And I don't know about you, but this hits home with family members who recently passed with cancer, some mental issues, chronic fatigue syndrome, several other things going on. I believe this is one of the hottest, most relevant topics. It doesn't matter your background. It doesn't matter whether you're a corporate executive, a mom, a son, a parent, or you're a CEO and founder entrepreneur that's a high achiever playing the biggest game in the world. This is relevant to you. So welcome our guest, Dr. Maggie Yu. Dr. Maggie, how are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you for having me and for that introduction.
You're welcome. I want to dive right into it. We're going to talk about uncovering the truth related to food reactions and the role they play. Now, this is kind of an interesting, controversial topic. But before we dive into some of the strategy, like I know you've had quite a journey. So why are you so fascinated about this topic and doing what you're doing?
Well, I would say I was a full-time participant in sick care. I was trained in one of the top medical schools in the country, UCLA. I was a great family physician. I worked for one of the top medical groups, both in California and then later in Oregon, and I became a medical director and I trained other physicians. So you could say that I was definitely in line with delivering what I discovered to be more and more of a sick care model. And I was really used to also, we follow algorithms for everything, right? So if you have this, we do these 2 blood tests. If it's this, then you go this route. If it's that, you go that route. And if you're neither, you're shit out of luck. Excuse my French. And what I found was that the category with which it was harder and harder to fit people into these algorithms because people were coming up with more and more sickness and more disease. And I practiced in that and it was really clean and neat, black and white in so many ways until I became that patient, So I ended up, when I look back, it's probably started in my childhood, but it came on the worst after the birth of my first child. I developed severe breast infection, took antibiotics, developed chronic fatigue, hair loss, fibromyalgia, depression, postpartum depression. And unbeknownst to me, I didn't even realize I was developing an autoimmune disease, which was an autoimmune thyroid disorder. And years later, after my second child, I developed diabetes while I was pregnant with her. Later on, I was diagnosed with multiple autoimmune diseases, not just Hashimoto's, but mixed connective tissue disorder, nebulous diagnoses like fibromyalgia, irritable bowel syndrome, you name it. And I realized that what I was telling me essentially back then was, all your labs are normal. Everything is fine. There's nothing more that I could do to help you, except maybe some birth control pills, psych pills, maybe you're cray-cray, go away, send you off to another specialist. So realizing that I was delivering that sick care was devastating when I became that patient and I became sicker and sicker. So I realized I had to go outside of that model to find my own answers to cure myself. So that's how this all started. Long ass journey to bring me back here where I had to figure out my own way through this. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. And that's why I'm here today.
And I love like your story, and you've helped so many thousands and thousands of people all over the world with what you do. Talk about somebody because as I think about my own family, right? I'll be a little selfish here as you're watching or listening, but think about this. Do you have someone in your family that has some immune issues or maybe struggles a little bit with mental, health in general, or fatigue or over fatigue, chronic fatigue, or any of these sorts of things? I mean, I think it really hits home. And I don't think there's anybody that isn't impacted one way or another from this, either short term or long term. And there's so much misinformation, Dr. Maggie. Speak about that. Like, what do you see as some of the big misunderstandings or
Yeah.
mistakes that most people have in taking their approach to try to solve these types of issues?
Well, to focus and narrow it around food, and I'm going to use it as an example, is that so many of you guys are watching right now, is that food reactions, you're having food reactions, and they're responsible for sometimes your symptoms or all the time your symptoms getting worse. And it's not sometimes just like constipation, diarrhea, gas, bloating that we think of food and GI or gut issues. But some of you also know that when you eat food, that you can get brain fog with it, you could get fatigue with it, you get anxiety around it. Some of you know that the food that you eat or don't eat can impact on your insomnia, whether you sleep or not, how you wake up. Some of you, the food just sits there. Some of you have chronic pain, neuropathy, autoimmune diseases. You just know food has something to do with it, but the question is what? And I will say the biggest misinformation, the biggest lie that we have in the healthcare system today, that we train young doctors and practicing experienced doctors, your endocrinologists, your rheumatologists, the biggest lie is that food doesn't matter.
Mm.
Because we already know it does, based on the data from our body. And when the heck are we going to listen to our own body? I say now. So that's the biggest piece of information, is we're missing out what we inherently know from our symptoms. And I can tell you also is that when you're looking at food, if it's real that these food indeed is causing the reaction, the question is then becomes how. And that's the missing piece, second piece of this holy grail. A lot of people think that, oh, if it's food, it must be allergies to food. It could be, which, by the way, your allergist will dismiss because it's not the kind of allergies they can diagnose. So yes, it could be allergic, but it's not the kind your allergist can diagnose. It's what we call more food intolerances and sensitivities, and they cause these very real symptoms. Okay, so yes, it can be food allergies. But what I love teaching people about, which is the Holy Grail, in fact, one of the first chapters of my book is digestion is always the first domino, which
Mm.
is that at least 50% of everybody who's watching today, at least 50% of the symptoms is because some step in their digestion is broken. Digestion. So is it possible? Think about this for a second. My reaction to food is not allergies related. It's related to some step in my digestion that's in fact broken or challenged. Could that be it? And the answer is yes, it is. In fact, you can't miss the buck on it. It's at least 50% of what's causing your problems. So what you're finding is that we're not training doctors right when they tell you food doesn't matter. And then even when you think it matters, they're running very limited testing that doesn't really diagnose the real problem, even if it is allergic related. And they know nothing about digestion, which is responsible for at least 50% of your symptoms. So that's where we're at.
And that's amazing. And as you're watching or listening, you're like, what would happen if you could tilt this domino in your favor? Get control of your health, get clarity, get confidence, and eliminate a lot of these symptoms that,
Yeah.
unbeknownst to most, could be as simple as tipping that domino related to digestion.
You
For
know,
example, Dr. Maggie, I think I heard in one of your videos, I mean, you've got so much content available. I think it was one of the YouTube videos you have where you talk about the traditional medical system, kind of feeding on this. Another challenge or misunderstanding is related. And, you go to medical school and umpteen thousands of hours of study and, internships, et cetera, and you get like 3 hours, or maybe
30
it was
minutes,
3 to 6 hours, if I'm
30
remembering,
minutes,
of
30 minutes,
nutrition and digestion. Like,
30
and yet
minutes.
over 50% of the symptoms or root causes can be linked to this one thing you're talking about, let alone all the other things that you bring awareness to. So, speak to this, maybe a story that others could relate to, of
Mhm.
someone you've worked with. I know you've got
Yeah.
thousands of case studies, but
Yeah.
maybe someone that comes to mind that's got everyday kind of normal challenges that where they were and maybe what happened as a result of just making the tilt of the domino in their own favor.
Well, this is very interesting. And it always gives me a quote, like reminds me of a quote from Maya Angelou, which is when you know better, you do better.
Mm,
And so one of my biggest jobs is to teach people to know better, right? And last night I just did a live training where I did a live workshop with people, and one of the biggest topics was around how digestion can contribute to so many different types of symptoms. And my favorite case study out of that was Elaine.
mm,
Elaine had suffered for, I would say, at least 10, 20 years with constipation. And then on top of it, over the last 5 to 6 years, what she found was that she had trouble eating all meat, all meat. And when she ate the meat, it would just sit there and it would
mm,
cause discomfort and bloating. And she thought she was allergic to meat. Come along with that, over the last 5, 6 years, she developed severe symptoms of brain fog, anxiety, pain, right? And had autoimmune diseases that was out of control, right? All this other pieces that are going on. So the question became for her was she went to doctors, she went to naturopaths, she went to functional doctors. She spent a shit ton of money trying to get the right testing, the right answers and all that. And no one had addressed the issue of digestion. Not
mm.
one person. Okay. And I remember, and she shared the story within the first week of working with me, she was watching one of the videos and we talked about low stomach acid. And I talked about how one of the most important symptoms of low stomach acid is the inability to digest meat. Okay. And boom, the light bulb went on. She got on some stomach acid. We have a product called Digest It, which has the stomach acid in it. She said within 7 days, her constipation was gone and she was able to tolerate and eat meat again. And today she's a foodie. She loves to cook. She just had a big family gathering she cooked for. And she's already not just adding all the meat back in, but she's already adding in all these other foods that she's been eliminating for years because she thought she was also allergic to those things. So it's really fascinating how when you combine the knowledge of learning about digestion and implementing those things, along with accurate testing of her actual real food sensitivities, combining the two, boom, 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 you get quick results, quick answers, her life is back. And she was just talking about this on last night's workshop.
I mean, that's just so amazing because, like, how many millions of people suffer from some version of constipation and think, oh, Pepto-Bismol or whatever, but it's not going to the root cause. And something so simple like the domino
I just
of just low stomach acid, right? And it's
one
like that what you just said is once you know better, you can do better. What is it you don't know about your digestion? What is it you don't know potentially about some of the underlying things
yeah.
related to digestion that are actually holding you back, that are costing you peace of mind, sleep, pain, all of these other types of theoretical immune issues or health issues that many people struggle with. And what if something as simple as adding stomach acid into your nutrition helped solve that for you, among the other hundreds of different things that Dr. Maggie could show you depending on your situation. Now,
one thing, which is like to
yeah,
me, I love these little linchpins.
yeah, little linchpins. In fact, I keep all these props here. It's like a little hinge that swings a big door, right? Little linchpins that swing big doors. And that's what I love about what you do because, it's not like a one size fits all. It's, what I would refer to in a way as pinpoint based
Right.
on, like my profile would be different than your profile and be different than Bob's profile and my wife's
Yeah.
profile, right? And
Yeah.
you have a way to be able to help people pinpoint and then, they have their own custom plan. So speak to, I have a deeper understanding of what makes your process, your unique method transform so unique in the market. Speak to that a little bit. What makes your program unique compared to anybody out there?
Well, we have a variety of programs, and we're talking about food right now. So I'm going to talk about my food mapping masterclass specifically. I think about how stop the guessing, right? If I had to do
Mm.
this over again, I was just talking to somebody about this. If I had to do this over again, what would I do differently? And I would say stop guessing earlier, right? And how do you stop guessing earlier is you need accurate data, right?
Yeah.
And the problem is, I think that a lot of people, when they think about medicine, they think accurate data is going to come from their doctor. Or sometimes they even think going to a naturopath or functional doctor means that they're going to get accurate data. And I was explaining to somebody how getting to just figuring out which is the best and only test I use to deal with food mapping, food allergies results took me 16 years. And I've ran over at least 10,000 tests from 40 different companies in order to figure out what is the best test, because there's a lot of bad tests out there. So for me, it's like it's impossible for an individual, for even a bunch of individuals to have done all that work over that time frame to figure that out, right? So how do we compress that time to make that to just tell you what the answer is? To be like, hey, I'm just going to tell you exactly which test you're going to do. Number one. Number two, I've had so much experience with that test, and we've had so much experience with that test with real people that, in fact, I'm going to train you all the intricacies that's different about this test that's going to unveil all sorts of patterns no one else sees. So I was giving a couple examples, Dan, where because I've done this particular test we had over 6,000 times, one of the things is there are patterns that unveil that are like, oh, that's not even a real positive because you've had this vaccine. Have anyone heard this? Or
Yes.
like, or it's like, oh, wow, that particular result, it looks like it's borderline, but because it's in this family that Dr. Maggie knows is a super allergen on this test, that is always a real, and you really shouldn't eat that. Right? That's what I call a false negative that really should be a positive. But nobody else, even the company that owns the test, doesn't know. Because you know why? The company makes the test technology, but they're not clinicians delivering those results and working with real people and real clients over 16 years or 26 years of their career, right? So I think the difference is that you get the right testing, you get the expertise and the wisdom of someone who's troubleshooted through this to so many thousands of times. They're just able to tell you. If someone can just tell you something instead of you having to try 40 different tests, what would that mean for you? What difference is that than going to kiss the next naturopath, the next functional doctor, the next medical doctor to beg and beg and beg? And for what, right? So for me, I like to help people cut the line. Let's cut the line at the time, the line it takes to get those results. Get the right data. And the data is, and it's the right testing. Get the right mentorship to just be told what the results of that wisdom and that experience has been, right? And then I would say number three is thinking about would be changing like your whole approach to one-on-one medicine. Like if the answer was going one-on-one and begging more and more doctors, no matter how good you think they are, and saying, I need this visit, and 6 weeks from now, I need that visit, I need to go see that specialist. If that system worked, we don't need to have this conversation, but it didn't work for me delivering it, and it didn't work for me receiving it. So how do we bypass that system to your result? Is you get out of it. And the way we get out of it is through accurate data, your own education, and good mentorship to coach you so you get there fast and you get there accurately. So that's what we do.
And speaking of what they do, little hinges swing big doors, right? What would it be worth if you got the accurate testing? And what if you could have a professional that could troubleshoot that testing? And then you had the ability to get a custom pinpoint plan to walk you into the right mentorship to help you solve your biggest challenges. What would that be worth to you, right? And what's it costing you not? There's a great Indian proverb that says, he or she who has their health has 1,000 wishes. He or she who does not has only one. What is good health worth? What is suffering costing you? Even like simple things like mobility or comfort versus discomfort or ease versus dis-ease. All of these things play true. Now, Dr. Maggie, if someone wants to learn more and go deeper, and I've got several other questions I want to go to, but I think this is a perfect place. If someone wants to go learn more about, how to uncover their own truth for their food situation, their gut, their digestion, have the little hinges that swing big doors or the domino that tips over 1,000 as it relates to their health, where can they go to learn more, get more information about what you're offering and doing?
Yeah, really simple. It's called myfoodmapping.com. So that's one of our programs, and it's called myfoodmapping.com, one word.com. And there you can check out our program, My Food Mapping. masterclass. And there's also the ability, if you want to chat with a member or our team, you can just, click the link, book a chat with our team, and our team would love to speak with you. So you can learn more. We can learn more about you because we have multiple programs. We have My Hormone Masterclass. We also have a main program that actually does every single thing together. So the whole kit and caboodle. So depending on what your needs and what's going on with you, we want to tailor something that's personalized for you.
So if you're looking for a way to get a customized, personalized plan, and you're looking for a way to, one, get the right testing, to troubleshoot that testing, to make sure you've got the right solution, and you're looking for mentorship to help with, what maybe you've been taught about elimination diets, like Dr. Maggie, is a lie and so inaccurate. And what if this one simple approach by going to myfoodmapping.com could help? It's simple. Go to myfoodmapping.com right now. Number one, get the program. Number two, if you have questions, of course, she's got a whole team that can help answer any questions you've got. Now, Dr. Maggie, I mean, there's so many questions I want to ask. What is another example?
I have a number 3 for them, though.
Do it.
I have a number 3. If
Okay.
you guys love YouTube and you want to watch videos, I have a YouTube channel, Maggie Yu, MD, that there are literally thousands of videos on there, and you could put in any topic into my channel, whether it's bloating, whether it's autoimmune disease, whether it's hormone imbalance, and there's going to be case studies and trainings that I've done. I have thousands of videos over the years that I've put up. And so any topic, and it could be mast cell, histamine intolerance, POTS, you name it. And there's going to be some videos, trainings, and resources there for you. So YouTube is another great way to consume and learn more about and get resources to whatever's going on with you as well.
So go check out YouTube, go to myfoodmapping.com, speak to one of her team, or just move forward. And by the way, when you go to her YouTube channel, because I've had a good pleasure to actually watch several of the content pieces, it's going to feel like she's mentoring you one-on-one, even though it's on YouTube. So take full advantage of that opportunity. Dr. Maggie, as you see, let's talk about this misnomer, misinformation related to sensitivity around food and potentially it being miscalculated, misdiagnosed. You kind of hit on it a little bit. Let's go deeper a little bit. Talk about that.
So the problem is that when we're talking about food allergies in the medical world, people are really focused on what we call IgE allergies, meaning that your immune cells are reacting in an allergic way, and they produce these antibodies, these response molecules called IgE. And E, think about it like emergency room, big, fast. So it's obvious. So think about, your kid who has a peanut allergy. Well, if you have an IgE allergy or somebody who has a shrimp food allergy, within like seconds or minutes, And so the allergists are really there to, through blood tests or skin tests, diagnose only IgE allergies. But here's the thing, scientific fact, IgE antibodies aren't the only antibodies for allergies. You have other antibodies, for example, like IgG allergies. And I think IgG is a growing slow response. And the thing about that's what I love talking about, because it is very different set of symptoms. They're not the obvious big emergency room symptoms. They're your headaches, your chronic pain, your neuropathy, your autoimmune disease, your brain fog, your ADD, your mood, your autism spectrum, your POTS, your mast cell. But the thing is, these vague reactions that are different for each person, even though they're vague, they are very debilitating or significant in your life, but they're not pinpoint to exactly the food item because it can take hours or days for that reaction to happen. And I love giving this example. Let's say for you, Dan, it's beef and it's broccoli. I mean, it's beef and it's broccoli, okay? Beef with broccoli, let's say. So there's an additive effect also. So for example, let's say they're both 3 points each, but only above 5 points do you have a symptom. And 1 week, all you ate was the broccoli and you didn't have any beef and you felt great. The next week, you had the broccoli, but you happened to eat beef on Tuesday, and Thursday you end up having diarrhea. And you're like, I wonder if it was the beef. But last week I had beef and I had no problems, let's say, or but you didn't have broccoli with it. So the problem is people don't understand that there is different kind of allergic reactions besides IgE, that is IgG. You should tell the allergist this. And they're real, but they're slow and they're additive. So then it can get really confusing without the right data. because you may not have 2 or 3 items added together that week that causes a response, whereas next week you do. So then it feels random. Okay. And because they're different in each individual, there's not like a study that says, broccoli and fatigue, broccoli and right toe pain. Like it might be right toe pain for Joe, but it might be fatigue for Anne, right? So it is such a more nuanced, personalized reaction that people have. And then there's the additive nature of multiple of these allergens. So this is why your conventional medical doctor is going to dismiss it completely and say, it's not real. The testing sucks. It's not reproducible. And it's not the same across the board for every person anyway. So just dismiss it, eat whatever the hell you want. So now you just got a crash course in understanding food sensitivities and food allergies. That's 10 times greater than the education any of your GI docs and allergists ever got. There you go.
And what's so amazing, Dr. Maggie, God rest his soul, my wife's father had passed forward to his new life here in the last couple of months at the time we're doing this conversation. And I remember it vividly because he had stomach cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor, when we had asked, well, what can he eat? Oh, he can eat anything he wants. Which just like sank my heart that the medical system is still so outdated that type of outdated advice is being given to someone who's in their last days, essentially, is where he was. And like what I kind of envision as you're describing is, related to this is almost like a stacking effect. Everybody's stacking effect is a little bit different. It's customized, pinpoint. And what we have the ability to do with your type of testing and also then the troubleshooting, from a custom perspective is, one, identify the stacking, but then identify where the stacking is good and supports you versus the stacking that ultimately puts you into inflammation, puts a headache, puts you into a situation where you're sore or you're not sleeping or you're bloated or all those things you talked about. So as you're watching, as you're listening, number one for yourself, but also for the people you love and care about today and for the future, like would it be worth to really help someone essentially get clarity around their own personal health, their eating habits? It's one thing that we do every single day and we have to sustain, but we can live in existence or we can truly live. And would it be worth for you to get control of that? And I want to encourage you, if some of this is just striking a chord at all, and you just want to learn more, because again, Dr. Maggie's got so much information available to you, take the first step by going to myfoodmapping.com. That's myfoodmapping.com. Check out our YouTube channel. All the links will be somewhere here on the page, and I imagine Dr. Maggie will have it on hers as well. Dr. Maggie, what is something I should have asked you that I didn't get a chance to ask you yet?
So one of the things that you should have asked me would be, what are food? So people think of food reactions as relating with only kind of gut issues, right? And we have touched on some of the other issues, but I want to just blow something like up out there and light a fire under a lot of people just around the word histamines. I think the word, a lot of people don't even understand what is a histamine and what does it have to do with many of my symptoms. And this is why putting out my food mapping as a program itself is near and dear to my heart, because it is actually has a lot to do with histamines. And then histamines isn't just about allergies, it's about everything. Take that to the bank as a quote. And what I'm going to tell you is this, is that we've talked about how you can eat the food and then you have cells floating in your blood. They're called mast cells, white blood cells. And when they see the food particles they're allergic to, they make these particles called histamines and they release them. And then you got all these histamines floating around. And your allergist is going to think, oh, these high histamines, that only is going to cause a problem with allergies. So if you're not having hives, you're not having eczema, you're not like asthma, breathing problem, it's not a problem. Scientific fact, everybody, I want you to understand histamines better than your allergist, which is the histamine pathway turns on, number one, a pro-inflammatory pathway for pain. So if you have chronic pain and you have, let's say, neuropathy, even TMJ, guess what? The histamine pathway from food has everything to do with it also. Number one, histamine pathway, direct pathway to chronic pain. Number two, histamine pathway lights a fire directly to your brain, your central nervous system, to cause what? Severe brain fog, focus issues with ADD, ADHD, depression, and anxiety. Histamine pathway beeline to central nervous system. Number 3, cardiovascular system. Do you know increased histamines will cause arteries to dilate? This is why in areas where you have allergies with histamines, you start having watery eyes or runny nose. Those arteries and veins are dilating, releasing a lot of the fluid inside, right? But what that also does is it changes your blood pressure throughout your body. It can drop your blood pressure. And when your blood pressure drops, you can have these up and down swings of the blood pressure, causing problems like dizziness, fatigue, POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, another thing called dysautonomia. Can also cause people to have blood pressure problems, whether it's high or low or really volatile. So direct beeline and a link between histamines and the cardiovascular system. I didn't even talk about histamines directly affecting estrogen and causing hormone imbalances. How many of you watching, whether you're a man or woman, have hormone imbalances, and now you're like, oh my God, my food has something to do with it. I knew it, right? So there's a beeline of your histamine pathway to hormone balancing. There's a beeline we're just talking about, Dan, and cancer. There's a beeline of elevated histamine levels in cancer and cancer pathways. So the question really is, what doesn't food have to do with? And the answer is food reactions have to do with everything. Boom.
Boom. And there you have it. And I want to encourage you, if you want to learn and also solve your food, essentially get clarity around your food mapping so you can be that person who enjoys 1,000 wishes versus having to focus on the one that keeps holding you back, that keeps you almost like if you're driving a high-end car and still using gasoline and you put, a low octane in the thing, what happens? It chugs along. And that's kind of what we're talking about. Histamines are impacting us slowly and ultimately quickly through the process of not putting the premium gas in it. And what if just a couple simple little things, like you could take a domino away or tilt a domino over, get the testing, get the troubleshooting, get the mentorship. Well, you can get all of that by going to myfoodmapping.com to learn more, speak to one of their team, check out Dr. Maggie's YouTube channel and dive in. And guess what? In literally a few days from now, you could be on the path to just feeling better, having more calm peace of mind, eliminating, reducing anxiety, being able to, solve the problem of ADD or challenges with, call it crazy brain or busy brain at night and insomnia and so much more. Anyway, Dr. Maggie, this has been amazing. So take action. Go to myfoodmapping.com, learn more about what she's got available, and also check out her YouTube channel as well. Dr. Maggie, what are 1 to 3 action steps that you hope our viewers, our listeners take from watching us today?
Sure. Number 1 is if you're on an elimination diet anytime, or you've been thinking about Googling another elimination diet, stop it. Number 1, throw elimination diets out the door. They're generalized information, personalized to no one. Number 2, stop focusing on trying to go find the right test, because you will be kissing hundreds of frogs. Okay. Honestly, stop just going to find another test. Stop it. Don't do that either. And then number 3, I would say that if nothing else, what we talked about with digestion, I have so many videos around digestion, and it's responsible for 50% of your symptoms. So if nothing else, check out my YouTube channel to look at some of my digestion videos. We even have our best product, our best selling product in the store, MY.MD is Digest It. Digest It is specifically what I call a multiphasic digestive product that actually helps every single step in digestion, because it ain't just one step that's broken for most of us, it's multiple. So I always recommend people start Digest It 1 in the morning, 1 with a small meal, 2 with big meals, and you can thank me later.
And thank her now by taking the next step to go to myfoodmapping.com, check out her YouTube channel, check out the different resources she's got available. She's helped thousands and thousands of people all over the world, and she's on a mission. She wants to turn a traditional system that's broken, that's archaic, maybe you understand, and maybe you've been a victim of that system, and flip it on its ear to give you the control, the comfort, the clarity, peace of mind that you deserve. And she can help you. So go check it out, myfoodmapping.com, her YouTube channel. Dr. Maggie, as always, it's a privilege, it's a pleasure, and it's great to be able to support you. Take action with what she shared. Seize the day. We'll see you next time on another segment right here and now, Breakthrough 3X. See you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of growthtofreedom.com. Are you struggling to get a steady flow of new clients every day? Or maybe hit a plateau or hit a wall in growing your business? Well, let's help you solve this problem today. Let's review your business and have a conversation. You can do that for free today at breakthroughstrategycall.com. That's breakthroughstrategycall.com. In addition, if you're looking for a simple way to implement some of what we've been talking about in today's episode, then I want to encourage you to get our free small business toolkit. You can get that at activate.breakthrough3x.com. That's activate.breakthrough3x.com. If you'd like access to the special resources and all the show notes for this special episode, make sure to visit growthtofreedom.com.
Hey, it's Dan Kuschell. Click the buttons over here on the left. You can watch these other couple videos, as well as make sure to hit the subscribe button so you can get access to the latest insights, strategies, and wisdom, giving you more clarity, confidence, and direction for exponential business growth. Hit the button now.